Welcome. In this video, I'm going to go over Assignment 0. Assignment 0 is part of your first introductory module. So when you get to your modules here in Canvas, you will get to your introduction module and you will see that you have one assignment in your introduction. Well, you can do your lockdown browser quiz, practice your lockdown browser quiz, but then you have one assignment in your uh, introduction module. This assignment is not graded. It's not going to be turned in. It is up to you to do this assignment. So let's get started on the expectations for this assignment. So the first thing you want to do is download the assignment. All right, so you're going to download the assignment and take a look at it. And here's the assignment. So this is an AI experiment. Uh, This is an assignment that would be very similar to an assignment that you would get at the end of the semester after you have learned some of the topics in C++. So some of the topics used in this assignment include C++ basics, conditions, loops, functions, class declarations, member functions, uh, file input and output, vectors of objects, friend functions, and inheritance in C++. So this is an assignment. It's similar to an assignment that you will be doing at the end of the semester, and today is day one. So you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know any of this, and you shouldn't because you're just getting started. But my goal is to teach it to you, and I want you to be interested to learn it. So, and I don't want you to use AI all semester to generate your code for you because the only way you learn how to code is by writing code and reading code. So I'm going to actually uh, open this up so I can write on it with Microsoft Edge. And I just want to point out a few things since we have this here. Okay, so how do you learn to code? You learn to code by you write your own. Oh, why is this not working? Okay, by write and read your own code. So you're going to learn in Module 1 that C++ source code is a plain text file and all about how you take your plain text file and compile it and link it and turn it into an interactive application. But you need to write and read code. You do not learn how to code by having AI generate code for you and then try to decipher what it is. There's nothing wrong with taking this assignment right here. I'm giving you permission and I'm asking you to put this into your AI tool, have the code generated. I did it, and here is the code that I generated. So this is my code that I generated, which I'm going to demonstrate for you in a minute. And this is an input file, which you need to run this code because it reads data from a file and you need to have the input file. And I'm going to go onto the compiler and demonstrate it for you. But before I do that, I just want to go over my process on what I did and what I recommend you try. So you take this, these are the assignment instructions. You just copy and paste these instructions into your, or however you take a picture, whatever you do. This explains what the code is supposed to do, which I'll go over in a moment. Make sure you include everything because there are some rules here. You need to make sure that your programmer defined prototypes are above main and your definitions are below main. You need to make sure that your class declaration is separated uh, from the implement, you separate the function implementation from the declaration and that it's above main. So these are things that you need to make sure. And these are things that when I put the assignment into ChatGPT, it did not do that. I also put, when I put the assignment into ChatGPT, it did not get it right the first time. It had trouble reading from the file. I'd had a few troubles, so I had to go back and show him my output, and then it came back and tried to fix it, and then explained how it fixed it. And to be perfectly honest, as it fixed it, it made things more complicated and tried to add more features that were not part of the assignment. So I'm just I don't know how it will do for you, but for me it took a it and I know what I'm doing. It ended up taking a while for me to get it to do what I wanted it to do. So it didn't do it right away. It was more than one time that I had to put it back in and ask questions. And finally, I did get source code that I'm satisfied with, and I will show you in a minute. So the features that it's going to cover are for this assignment is basics of C++, which is module 2, conditions, loops, and functions, which is module 3, I believe, file input and output, class declarations, vectors, friend functions, and inheritance. And these are, we have the entire semester except for a couple of extra features. These are the features of the C++ programming language that we will be covering week by week through this semester, slowly with very small assignments along the way. You are not allowed to use AI for your small assignments along the way, only for this experimental assignment. Um, I found last semester that everyone had perfect code for every assignment, which means they obviously were generating their small assignments along the way. And that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you learn. It doesn't give me any feedback on whether or not you are learning. Because if you're not doing any of the work yourself, again, you need to write your own code and read your own code. And everything in here is individual work. The use of AI to generate your code is not allowed except for this assignment right here. So copy this in there, put it and see what you get. And I'm going to show you now the code that I got and how I was able, and we're going to test it together. So I'm going to go here to an online C++ compiler. I'm going to stick to the one I've been using, online GDB, which, oh, I'm usually on Chrome. That's why it didn't come up, but I'm going to use the one I usually use. All right, this is the online compiler that I generally use. So I am going to test my code on this online IDE in a moment when it loads up. And let's just go back here while that's working and take a look at, oh, I'm going to do it on Chrome. Yeah, let me get off. Let's do things on Chrome here. All right, so let's go back here. Here's your assignment. In order to test your code, hopefully it will generate your code that you can use. But I definitely recommend that you look at my code, which we will look at together in a moment. You need to have this input file because it reads in from the file. So let's just go over what this program does. This program is going to have a list of vegetables. So you're going to have a class called vegetable, and you're actually going to have a class called produce, and that's going to be your base class, and you're going to have a derived class called vegetable. So again, I'm not expecting you to know how to do that. I'm just, if you have some background in object-oriented programming, then you will understand the concept of base classes and derived classes. Your class, your vegetable is going to have some information about it. So your base class will have the name and the color of the vegetable and a unique ID. And then your derived class is going to have a cost per pound and a price per pound. So it's going to have the name and color from the base class and a cost and a price in the vegetable itself. All right, you're going to have some friend functions that are going to overload the plus operator and another friend function to overload the less than operator. You're going to read data from a file called vegetables.txt. It'll be the name of the vegetable, like maybe carrot, and the color, which would be orange, and the cost per pound, which is whatever, I don't know, $1.25, and the price per pound that you're selling it, 250. So whatever, it's not really important what that is, but this is all going to be in the input file. And then after you're going to create an output file and you're going to save into that output file. You're going to ask the user's going to have the option to make some purchases and you're going to put the results into an output file. So the user will be prompted. So you're going to load the vegetable information that's going to be in the input file. You're not going to be adding any vegetables or anything. You just have the option to deal with the vegetables that are in the input file. So you can change up the input file if you want. You will use a random number generator to generate a unique ID for each of your objects of type vegetable. And let's take a look at the sample output. So here, the file is going to have 5 vegetables in it: a carrot, a spinach, a Brussels sprout, a beet, and an eggplant. One thing very, very important: do not make your strings or your words have white space. So notice right here that Brussels sprouts does not have a white space. There were some issues in reading in white space, and it just complicated uh, dealing with all of the other features. There's nothing wrong with just putting an underline there. You guys do it all the time with usernames. It makes everything more simple if you're not dealing with white space. All right, then you present your vegetables and the user gets to pick which one they would like to buy, how much they want to buy, and then you calculate a profit on that transaction. And if they pick a number that doesn't exist, for example, they pick number 9, you say it's an invalid selection. And when you're ready to exit, you pick 0 and it's going to save the output file. So if you go back and look at the assignment, you will see that there is an input file and there is an output file. So we'll take a look. This is the input file. This is the information. These are the 5 vegetables. And this is the output file that was generated by my program, so I don't need to download that. And this is the code that finally ChatGPT got right, which again, it did not get it right the first time I put the assignment in there. It also is missing some of the things that are part of my style of programming that I'm going to be teaching you. But overall, it finally followed the directions. It definitely does not have enough comments in the code, but I decided to add the comments as we go through the semester. I'm going to include this file as we learn things in the class. For example, when we start going over classes, I'm going to highlight this to demonstrate how to declare a class. When we are doing loops, there is a loop here that I can highlight to demonstrate a loop. When we're doing conditions, there are conditions here that I can highlight. So I'm going to use this code right here that has been created on Assignment 0 to help and teach you things throughout the semester. And hopefully that will, that will inspire you to want to try to implement this code by the end of the semester by yourself. That's the goal. The goal, I'm going to write it here. The goal is for you to implement a similar program without the aid of AI. So let's see how this semester goes. Keep that in mind throughout the semester. Get help when you need it. We will have help for you. You will, you should, as you learn to program, um, struggle. That's kind of part of the process. Also, you I mean, you're in a class, you're here to learn, and I want to teach you. I want you to learn how to write this code or similar code, the features that we're covering. I want you to learn how to do it on your own. All right, so now let's test it. So I'm going to go here to an online compiler. Okay, hopefully it's going to work. All right, so here I am in the online compiler. I need to create a new file. This is my input file, vegetables.txt. It's what's it called? Vegetables or vegetables? Vegetables. It's very important that you make it the exact same name. So in my vegetables.txt file, I'm going to copy and paste the vegetable information. So this is the input file that my program's going to read from. This is my source code file that is going to uh, hopefully work. It worked already when I tried it. So I've put it in here. So this is the code for this assignment that was generated by ChatGPT. It did not generate it all. Uh, it did not generate it all perfectly the first time. There were things that needed to be corrected. So I'm just letting you know that you might go through some iterations to try to get it right. If I was doing this, I would try to get it right and try to get it to match the output that you have. So, and see if you can get it to do do the same thing. It might do it right away. It might not. But then once it's done, start looking at the code. You have this code. This is the expectation for the semester. The expectation is that you should be able to implement and read all of this by the end of the semester and understand everything that's going on in this code. Uh, but not only be able to read it and understand what's going on, but also be able to write it without the aid of any kind of tool. If I said to you, define a class called vegetable that has these functions and test each one of these functions, you should be able to define a class and declare and create a class called vegetable and a bunch of functions and implement it yourself without the aid of any other outside tool or AI or other people. So keep that in mind as we go through the semester. And I will keep this code here. Again, like I said, with each feature like this is not very well commented. So I'm going to, when we are covering a feature, I'm going to add comments. Another recommendation is you can take this code that I've provided for you right here and put it into ChatGPT and ask Chat or your AI tool and ask your AI tool to explain it to you. It will give you a very detailed explanation of the code, but it'll be very extensive um, and that's fine. But again, the goal is for you to be able to do it without that assistance by the end of the semester. So keep that in mind as we go through the semester. All right, let's test it and see if it works. So it did, this is feedback just because we had trouble reading from the file. This is just feedback letting me know that everything was properly read from the file. And now I have my virtual vegetable store. I have my 5 vegetables. I can pick a vegetable. If I pick number 10, it should tell me it's not valid. If I pick number 2 for spinach, I can buy 6 pounds of spinach and it's going to calculate my profit on that. So it says it doesn't give all the information on the calculation profit along the way, but it does calculate the profit and you could add that if you want to try to add it, but it's not for a grade. This is just for, just an experiment to see what happens with you guys. All right. So then if I want to buy some carrots, buy 4 pounds of carrots. All right, so it calculates my profit on that transaction, and you can just keep going and calculating a profit until you're done. And when you hit 0, it will exit, and then it creates the output file. So again, I hope you have fun trying this experiment. There's no pressure, there's no grade, there's nothing to submit. Um, you're certainly welcome to ask questions. I just, it's kind of, I just want you to see a little bit also my perspective on things. My goal is for you to learn. I want you to learn. I want you to be able to, this is a computer science class. Computer science students should be able to read and write code. And I want you to be able to read and write code by the end of this semester in C++. And so it's frustrating when students are not doing their own work. So I'm giving you a chance right now to make the decision that you want to um, do your own work and learn. Okay, well, thank you, and I look forward to this semester.